This is a three-part introductory course to achieving inner stillness for optimal life and work through applications of integral polarity practice. This first session, we're just going to talk about becoming more aware and working with this inner stillness that's already within us. The second session, we'll talk more about opening to the stillness and inspiration in the middle of activities and work and just being engaged in life. The third session, we'll talk about some of the fundamental ways to get grounded and develop a practice for a longer term application and deepening of achieving this stillness that's just very present, but sometimes not very clear to us, and that we oftentimes don't take advantage of. So the point of this session is just to help us become a little bit more aware of this stillness. And this stillness is essentially awareness. And although one might say that this is an application of mindfulness, it's I would call it more accurately an application of awarefulness, because this stillness, which is inherent in all of us, is just simply there, is awareness itself. Awareness is still, awareness is empty. And because it's empty and because we're so involved in what's happening physically and emotionally and mentally, sometimes we don't notice and take advantage of this profound dimension of each one of us. One way to just introduce this topic is just take your hand or your arm just somewhere where you can just touch your body and just stroke that area a little bit and just be aware of what that feels like. You know, there's a book called Returning to Your Senses. And what the point of that is that we get so caught up in the narratives of our lives and being pushed from here to there in terms of our emotions and our thoughts and the tangents we go off on, that we just forget about this inner stillness. We're never fully aware of it, never fully aware of that awareness. And just by touching the physicalness of yourself, you're there, you're present. And for people who are really challenged mentally and emotionally, or people who are prisoners or in situations of high trauma and high tension, if they just return to their senses, if they just go through a little bit of an exercise of becoming aware of how they feel in this, say, for instance, in this chair, what it, however you're positioning yourself right now, what your body feels like, what your clothing feels like on your skin, what's tightness is there. If you just are aware of that, it returns you to this present moment, instead of being caught up in the feedback loops and the narrative and perhaps the trauma or the projections or introjections that are going on. To just feel into that right now, it opens you up to this present moment. And you hear a lot about living in the now or being in the present, and wonder, well, what does that mean? What does that realistically mean? All that means is being aware in the moment. And in this regard, being aware of your physical senses, what your senses are picking up. As with all applications of IPP, we try to take note of primary polar dimensions that are operating in each bandwidth of ourselves. In awareness, There's an openness to that which is around you, or maybe an openness to what's going on inside of you, and then a quality of focusing. So let's just do a little bit of an exercise. Wherever you are, just in this moment, kind of be aware and open to your environment. What's going on around you? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Maybe what do you smell? What about the temperature? What you find when you're very broad is you will be moving towards, your attention will be moving towards some area of focus instead of remaining totally open. So just do that naturally now and see what you focus on. Let's say in your physical self, what are you noticing as your broad scope of awareness narrows down to an area of focus in terms of how you're feeling in your physical self? Whatever you're focusing on, be present with this. You'll notice what's arising, what's present in this moment in the context of that scope of focus. Okay, thank you. When we go through this activity continually throughout the day, we're open to our environment, we're open to new things, and then we focus on things. One of the terms in the Buddhist tradition is without a trained mind, you have a monkey mind. Your mind tends to move all over the place, and you might have monkey emotions. Your emotions drive you rather than you having much control of your emotions. And what awareness does is this deeper, still, or quality of yourself is it enables you to identify with that deeper stillness and then be aware of what's going on, and a little less driven by your mind or your emotions or your physical discomforts. If you have a little bit of separation, just notice and have this awareness, things slow down a little bit more. You identify with this deeper stillness that's always there. And so just to kind of get into that a little bit and feel that a little bit, let me just facilitate in this moment, having a broad awareness in this moment, if you would, and then be aware again of your physical self, where you're seated, what your clothes feel like, the temperature is. Any area that is not relaxed, tight, any area that's relaxed. And now shift your scope of your focus to the emotions that you have within yourself. Maybe reflect on the emotions that you brought into this session, say in the last 2 or 3 or 4 hours. What emotions have you experienced? Are there any vestiges of those emotions now? Are you feeling any new emotions right now? Just try to become aware of your emotions in this moment, vestiges of a moment of emotions that you've had that might still be present. you might not have noticed before. Now shift your attention and your awareness, your scope of focus to your thoughts. Just notice where your mind is going, what's percolating. There may not seem like there's any separation between noticing what your thoughts are and what your thoughts are in this moment. But just don't judge, don't try to control. Just be aware of your thoughts, wherever they go, whatever is concerning and whatever direction your thoughts go, it's okay. Just notice what they are. Thank you. This may not happen immediately, but if you practice this full scan awareness, you'll develop a deeper identification with this quality. You might call it a witnessing quality. That's a word that's used quite often. From this place of stillness, you're witnessing this physical bandwidth of yourself, this emotional bandwidth of yourself, and even your thoughts. And this is particularly with your thoughts, this can be a radical notion or something that doesn't seem to make any sense. Because normally we think of our thoughts as, this is who I am thinking. How can I step outside of who I am? Well, that's exactly the point, is by practicing being aware of your thoughts, you just create the smallest little separation after a while between your awareness or your witnessing and these thoughts. And if you can witness your thinking mind, then what is this witnessing quality? How are you able to do that? Well, it's a deeper quality of yourself, and it's a quality that's there. You spend all day long noticing and witnessing things without being aware that there's a deeper quality to this dimension of ourselves than just our physical senses or our emotions or our mind. And so just do this again. Just witness your mind. No control intended, no judgment intended. It's important that you not try to control or judge. Just notice what's happening with your mind. Maybe you're thinking this is kind of crazy, but that's fine. Whatever comes up, just notice it, just witness it. Okay, thank you. Now this is related, but not exactly the same thing. Is you can witness and be aware of your own ego. And sometimes that's exactly what you think your thoughts are. But it's basically what you normally think yourself is. And notice your ego by some of the reactions that you have, maybe significant reactions when something comes up, and you probably can't do it in the moment to begin with. Whenever you have maybe a dramatic reaction to something or somebody or a situation, just on reflection, notice, myself, my ego self was reacting to the situation. I mean, a great example is if somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're not very happy about that, and maybe your hand starts to come up to make some kind of a gesture, or you roll down the window to say something, or you at least just have feelings about that. And oftentimes what we do in that moment, because of our emotions and our thoughts and our frustrations, we begin to act out, maybe physically, maybe just in terms of where our thoughts go or where our emotions go. And if that happens, as soon as you can, have a little practice moment, and maybe just 30 seconds or a minute, just to notice what happened. Notice how you reacted in a certain way. Maybe you acted in a less than optimal way. And again, you don't even need to judge it. You just sort of need to notice that happened. And as you practice noticing your ego dynamics, you move towards a situation where you can begin to do that in the moment. And in the moment, if you notice the reaction that you're having to being cut off in traffic, just the fact that you can notice it in the moment changes the situation. Notices that you have a tweak of emotion or maybe even anger. But because you're noticing it, you come from a deeper place and you're open to a deeper wisdom and maybe even compassion for yourself and others. You tend not to act it out, or even if you act it out, over time you'll learn that by observing your thoughts and by observing your ego reactions to things, they'll have less control over you. And there's actually a healing process that goes on, a illumination process that goes on where we begin to see things about ourselves that we hadn't seen before. We can notice, for instance, that we're projecting on others. Well, that person is always so angry. I notice that they're always angry, and it kind of bothers me. When actually that anger might be coming from you, and you don't want to fully accept it within yourself, and so you're projecting it on somebody else. And so as you practice witnessing, as you practice coming from a deep place of awareness, not only can you notice yourself acting out, or maybe you don't act out, but you begin to identify a little bit more with this witnessing capacity. And that's a healthy thing. That's an important thing, because this still, empty, serene place quality is a deeper quality of ourselves. It's a deeper manifestation of who we are in our deepest level, and it opens us up to a deeper wisdom. It opens us up to a non-egoic compassion in the moment. And so this is, if you have a little bit of meditation background, this may not be particularly new to you. Other than this is kind of a reverse. Normally, a lot of mindfulness is to learn some discipline and learn how to breathe and learn how to relax, and then observe your senses and try to get some control over your mind. And then you become more aware of this deep witnessing awareness. This is a little bit of jiu-jitsu here. In my experience, I found any of us can be open to and become aware of our own awareness. That's all it is. And we can begin this, but by just even 5 minutes a day, having a little bit of a practice where perhaps we do a little bit of a full body scan. in other words, our physical body, our emotional body, and our mental body in a way. And that's the external element. The internal element is consciousness, our physical consciousness, our emotional consciousness, our mental consciousness. And just to do a little bit of a full body scan for that, through that physical, emotional, and mental, and maybe even spiritual quality of ourselves. And find that at the center of all of that is always some stillness. And there's an aspect of awareness that can sort of witness those dimensions of ourselves. And then during the day, just maybe a couple of times, try to find a situation where you can, as a little bit of an exercise, just witness. And I think because it's the most difficult thing, the most challenging, it's the thing to maybe try to do is create a little bit of separation so you can begin witnessing your thoughts. Maybe routinely, just try to do that once a day, but also try to look for a situation during the day where you're reacting a little bit. You have some emotions, you have some anger, you are caught up in a behavior that is really not optimal, and just notice it, and just become aware that there's something going on there that's a little bit reactive. And to begin with, it'll almost always be after the fact. But right after that person cut you off in traffic, and you reacted how you reacted, just notice that you did that. Notice that you did that, and as you practice that, you'll be able to move the witnessing capacity to be more in the moment with what's actually happening. And so that's just an introduction of this first session, a real basic session of how to become aware of our own awareness. And we'll see you for the next couple of sessions.